The Malaysian government's decision to relax tinting rules on vehicles is great news for window tint players. One such company reaping the benefit from this announcement is Totalgard Manufacturing. They are the only producer of window film tint in Malaysia. CEO JJ Ng says they are ready to meet increased demand as they also look beyond Malaysia's shores for diversified growth. So much for having us here at your R&D lab.
Thank you for visiting us.
Well, let's start with the government announcement this year, which relaxed tinting rules on vehicles. I suppose that's a very exciting time for a not just a distributor, but also a manufacturer of window or film tint for cars in Malaysia and also in Southeast Asia as well.
Yes. Of course, it's very exciting currently because you see when they relax the law, it's actually promoting the window film market, increasing the volume of the window film market because people will tend to install darker tints during these times.
And just how big is the market, if you can share with us?
I would say the market itself, the capacity will be around 100 million over ringgit.
100 million ringgit. This is just in Malaysia, right?
Yes, just in Malaysia.
Okay. And how big is Totalgard? How much market share do you have in Malaysia?
Currently, we have approximately about 50%, let's say.
That's very large.
Yes.
What about the other 50%? Who are your competitors?
Actually, our competitors is basically from overseas. Let's say from China, from US, even from Korea.
Okay. So, can you give us a background of this industry? I understand that Totalgard is the only producer or manufacturer of film tint in not just Malaysia but Southeast Asia. So tell us more about the background of this industry.
Okay, this industry last time, many years ago, I think more than 20 years ago, there is only one kind of tint, which is, we call it black tint. Black tint itself doesn't have any heat rejection function. Basically, it's just mostly for privacy. They use it basically for privacy. And then slowly after some time, during the 1990s, they improved the quality itself. They're adding some new chemicals itself and then having some heat rejection on the films by absorbing the infrared from the sun spectrum.
What about now? How has it progressed since in terms of the science and technology behind window tint?
Nowadays, window tint itself, okay, we are able to cut out 100% of the UV itself. Last time, the maximum that we can cut out is about 99.9. But nowadays, even our film can cut out 100% of it. And for infrared, we can reject up to 100%.
So when people come to you to install, say, a window tint on their car, so what do they want? What kind of aspects are important to this consumers?
Basically, they are looking for quality and then the pricing. Pricing placement is very important. And then the colors itself.
Yeah. I'd like to go back a bit about how Totalgard started. I understand you and your mother started this business as a distributor back in 2006. Why this business and how did you end up becoming a manufacturer?
Okay, this business around 2006, that time, okay, there is not much importer in Malaysia. And then this business itself is blooming. As I can see that during that time, people are trying to get window films, but they don't know where to get it. And then we saw the opportunity because the market itself only have quite the high-end brands, and then people are looking for cheaper alternative. So during that time, we are selling window film at a very fast pace. And then starting from 2015, I started to plan for this manufacturing.
Okay, but when you first started it, you were just 18 years old.
Yes.
And you already had an interest in this business? So
yes,
how did it go? Like, what triggered you to actually venture into a business with your mother?
What triggered me? It's like it's something that interests me because it's like playing with chemicals itself is like one of my interests.
Okay. Of course, you are a chemical engineer by training. So from 2016, then I understand you ventured into manufacturing in 2017. How was that process like? Was it difficult? Because I'm asking, seeing that there is a lack of producer manufacturer in this part of the world, is the cost of entry very high? What is it that makes it difficult to start a business?
Actually, the technology is very high because it's not easy to manufacture a window film because you play around with a lot of chemicals, and then whether it's compatible, the kinds of chemicals compatible, and then during that time I purposely buy a machine from Japan, from Yasuiseki. This machine itself is like a mini coating machine, and then we use this machine to manufacture to like test our products out before that we really go into the manufacturing itself.
So, going back to the government's announcement of relaxing tinting on vehicles, and then now, what is the sales growth for your company?
Actually, you see, during this announcement, recent months, there is a drop in the car volume, but I can see there is a pickup in the architecture side. So the volume, I would say, increased about 10%.
A large part of window film sales is supported by the automotive industry. And car sales has been flat somewhat. I mean, total industry volume up to the first 9 months of 2019 was about 443,000 units. And that's just very marginal. I say it's not even growth, it's a decline compared to last year. So how do you see your company being supported by the automotive industry? Are there plans to diversify your growth?
Recently, I can see there is a bloom in architecture rather than the automotive itself, because you see, when nowadays the glass itself is already thin glass, but using a thin glass itself, the price of a thin glass is more expensive. So what we do now is that we promote the people to use a float glass instead of a thin glass. From the float glass, we install the window film on it. It's more easier for the cleaning and removing of the film. Let's say one day you want to remove the film from the glass itself, then it's like you just remove it.
Okay. Tell us about the growth that you're seeing in architecture and how much of your revenue now is supported by automotive and architecture.
Okay, architecture itself, I would say the growth is about 10% a year, about that, 10 to 15. And then I would say that my company growth is about 15% a year.
Okay. And what about the revenue breakdown in terms of automotive and architecture?
Automotive and architecture. Architecture currently is about 30% and 70% is from automotive.
So you're anticipating more growth from architecture?
I would say that in the future, maybe 2021, maybe about that will be around 50-50.
Okay, and where do you see this growth coming from? Is it just within Malaysia?
Within Malaysia and overseas as well.
Okay. Tell us about your overseas market. You're the only manufacturer of window tint in Southeast Asia. So where do you export to?
Currently, we are exporting to South Africa, to US, to Australia, to New Zealand, to Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore, and many more countries. And
how did you even get to these countries? We know that these big companies are mainly from the US, Korea, and China. So how do you get a foothold in a place like Saudi Arabia, for instance?
Okay, normally what we do is that we look for distributors in the country, and our way of marketing is a bit different.
Okay.
For example, in Indonesia, recently I have a warehouse over there. I opened an office over there just to distribute our products over there. Because you see, in Indonesia, there is some problem with the importers, because many people over there, they don't know how to import.
What do you mean by that? Don't know how to import?
You see, when you import a product to your country, you must have that kind of knowledge. When I see Indonesia is like 10 years from Malaysia, 10 years ago. So many people don't have the knowledge to import, and then a lot of small players over there. So what we do now is that we open a warehouse and an office over there, just purposely to distribute our products.
Tell us which country looks most exciting for you.
I would say US.
Why? They already have big players. I mean, for instance, 3M is
because
market leader.
Because they have already big players means that the market already accept this product and they have the volume over there.
Okay. But look at a place like Indonesia, it's 260 million population. That's a big volume for you as well.
Yes, it's a big volume, but we need time to educate the people over there for the importance of window film and to educate them about the market, what kind of window film that they need.
Help us understand the preferences, the difference in preferences compared, for example, Malaysian and a market in the Middle East.
Okay, in Malaysia, I would say that Malaysian people are interested in fancy colors because sometimes people use green, blue, black, many kinds of color. But in countries like Thailand, Indonesia, in Saudi or Dubai, they are basically just very simple. They are using black color, just one kind of color.
And why so?
Culture, maybe.
What were the challenges initially when you entered into manufacturing? Because I understand, I mean, you're being the first in this part of the world to produce. So for you at a very young age and still a very young industry, what were the challenges for you?
My challenges is that I would like to produce the films at a very good quality. At that time, I purposely hired a Korean professional to come over to help me, which have around more than 30 years experience. And the challenges is that it's not easy because window film itself is a very sensitive things, because like even a small haze cause big problem.
So you need to be very precise.
Very precise on the chemicals, even like for example the mixing, even 1% difference can make a big difference.
Okay, so tell us about this. I mean, this is your R&D lab. I'm sure you spend a lot of time in here. What goes on, what goes on into the process of ensuring that this tint that comes out is of high quality?
Okay, basically what we do here is that before production in the manufacturing site, we will test it over here using this machine. This is called a mini labo. It's a one of a kind, and even in the whole Asia, only I'm investing in this machine itself.
Can you share with us the new plant that you have in Hulu Selangor and how will it contribute to Totalgard's growth in the future?
Actually, this plant currently is just one line, and for one line, my capacity is maximum is about 600 rows. And maybe sooner or later, I'm planning for a second line, because my design for this factory itself is able to support 2 lines.
So just give us an idea, like for one row, how many cars can be covered in
one row of
tint?
film is standard at 500 square feet, meaning that it can cover about 10 cars, 10 to 12 cars, depending on the car size. Let's say if it is Berita, maybe 12 cars. If it's like a Mercedes, maybe it's only 10 cars.
Okay, and what about architecture then? Because I understand this would be big glasses and windows, so you really need to ramp up production then.
Yes. For for example, in a building, let's say if the whole building is using a window film, it will use up to about 200, 300 rows. It's a very big quantity.
So that will be maxing up your production line for a day almost?
Yes, it's almost a day.
Okay.
It took 1 day of my production.
Tell us about your vision for the company.
My company, what my vision for my company is, I plan to go public listed in this 5 years time.
What is the strategy from that? Like, is there a target of revenue before you move on to the next step to have your company listed?
My target for this company, actually I plan for growth for more than 20%. Last time when we started this business on 2006, my growth was about more than 40%. That time was very aggressive. But these days, because competition is there, and then as you grow bigger, it tends to grow harder.
Is that a target revenue before
Yes.
what would that be?
60 million?
60 million
Ringgit.
And where are you right now?
About 50.
So you're just 10 million away from
Yes.
making the step to have your company listed.
Yes.
Why list? Is it just to more for funding and scale, or are you
Because
looking?
I'm planning to go into another industry itself, Because window film itself is we are coating the adhesive, the chemicals onto the film. And what I plan is that I want to do the material itself, the chemicals itself. That's what my plan.
Okay.
Not only just window film, but the material itself. For other industry, not only window films, usage maybe on packaging or other industry as well.
Who are your competitors here then, if you can share with me? If you're planning to moving to other industries, I'm sure you look at the existing threats and opportunities. So if you plan to list and you plan to go bigger into different areas, what would be your biggest threat?
My biggest threat, I would say maybe threat from competition,
Which is?
which is pricing wars.
Pricing wars. And this pricing war, are they from local manufacturers, producers, or are you seeing pricing war more from the outside players, for example, China?
Yes, China.
Okay, let's talk about that a bit because I understand there are a lot of Chinese producers who bring their film in and a lot of consumers use that. But are they of the same quality as what?
Actually, the quality is more inferior compared to us, but we have some problem with the counterfeit issue. Because China these days we have counterfeit films coming in to Malaysia.
And how do you know if it's a counterfeit tint?
Actually, it's very hard to know because window film itself. Let's say you're buying a window film, a brand, a very famous brand. Actually, I give it to you. You don't know whether it's a very famous brand or anything because window film itself is very hard to differentiate.
Okay.
That's why I don't plan to market my films at a very high margin price.
I'd like to touch more about the export business because I understand this is going to be a bigger portion of your revenue. How big is the film business right now, and how do you intend to grow the export market? Because you need a lot of marketing strength, you need a lot of reach, and I guess you must have that awareness of the brand before actually able to reach out to customers.
Actually, currently I have many appointed distributors overseas, but what we plan to do is we want to co-launch exhibitions, to join in the exhibitions such as SEMA shows and Auto Mechanica.
Okay, so it's just building awareness through trade shows at this point in time.
Trade shows and some social media, because I'm a social media guy.
Okay.
So social media itself is, for me, is like one of the best marketing tools available, which costs the less.
Okay. What actually do you need to be a company that can produce high quality window film or window tint?
You see, chemicals is all about sourcing. You need to go into trade shows, like chemical trade shows, to source a lot of kind of chemicals, which is suitable for your usage. So only by R&D only you know whether this chemical is suitable or not.
Okay, let's talk about that then, the R&D portion of your business. How are you going to be investing more into R&D?
Yes.
Tell us about that plan of yours.
Okay, currently we are in coating, and then this coating itself, okay, we are investing in this mini labo. This is my first investment, and the next I'm going to invest in extrusion machine. It's like this machine itself is basically producing the base material for the window film itself. It's like a deeper study.
Okay, and how would that help your business?
Maybe one day I will move into extrusion business as well. And this is like, I'm supplying my own materials. Okay. Like, for example, in a business, you can move either downstream or upstream. And this is considered upstream business.
Okay, so right now your business is considered downstream, or how would you categorize it?
It's in the middle.
Okay.
Okay, for example, there's a material company, and then there is a manufacturer, and then there is a distributor, retailer, and the end users. So I would say I'm at the second level, at the manufacturer, but before that there is a material manufacturer, which is the upstream.
Okay. So currently in the middle, and you intend to expand that upstream segment.
Yes.
And what about downstream then? Are you still going to be relying more on distributors or
because
partners?
you see, when we move upstream, we are talking about volume, and we move downstream is about quality. So quality and installation, there is, for us, I have been into retailer business before, and then retailer business is not my kind of business. So basically, I'm more interested in distribution, manufacturer.
Okay. And when you say manufacturing, does it mean bringing on more technology?
Bringing more technology, and the challenge is there. When you do retailer, it's basically not much challenge.
Okay. And what would be the challenge for bringing in more technology? Is it funding?
Funding, basically it's just funding, and important key people.
And would finding talent a difficult part of the business?
Let's say you need talent which is already in that industry. You need to find that kind of talent. Let's say if one day I want to move into extrusion, I would need to search for talent.
So for manufacturing, that would mean that you don't need to limit yourself to just producing for the automotive industry and the architecture, right? What other areas can you get into if you're in manufacturing?
Actually, you see there's a new kind of products that people are installing nowadays. They install a kind of film on the vehicle body. That kind is a kind of, we call it wrap film. And then maybe soon we will invest in that kind of film as well.
Okay.
Anything that related to film, we will try to invest in.
Okay, from now to the next 5 years, how do you envision the growth of this company?
Envision the growth. I would say that maybe in this 5 years' time, I will move into upstream to the PT technology. And one more thing is that I will invest in adhesive technology as well, because adhesive is one of my major material in the window film itself.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, JJ, for making time for this, and wish you all the best with your expansion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.